This is definitely an interesting moment right here, because it rewrites what's possible in this series. For 3 episodes, you've been used to staring down these same 2 dudes in goofy, outlandish caricature outfits of famous people from history, and then all of a sudden, you're greeted to this random lady who looks like a pretty spot-on, accurate representation of a prominent politician of the time. So congrats to Lisa Nova, whose presence essentially made it possible for all future guest rappers to exist, and who set the template for allowing the guest rapper to just show up and become the character without any fanfare or introductions to take you out of it. That said, I do mourn the chronic lack of epic Lloyd raps in this episode. I mean, it's actually a weirdly good Lady Gaga costume. At least better than the Abe Lincoln from the Streets thing from last episode. And it's the start of a long tradition of Nice Peter being able to slip into pretty much any persona. But even still, this is just kind of a weird one, and I can't say I fully support this costuming choice.
Oh boy, look what we have here! A transvestite with a keyboard trying to be freaking here!
Alright, well, that voice is ear-splitting. But then again, so is the real Sarah Palin, so what are you gonna do? It's a good impression, honestly, which makes sense. I never watched her channel at the time, but from what I can tell, Lisa Nova is here because she actually had a pretty successful couple of videos where she parodied Palin. I assumed at first she was ripping off the Tina Fey bit on SNL, but then I checked Nova's first vids post date against when the SNL skit aired, and her first Palin video actually came out about 2 weeks before Tina Fey's debut. Now, am I saying the SNL writers saw something from the internet and co-opted the idea for their show? For legal reasons, no. But the timing is a bit sus. Anyway, the real issue with this opening set of bars is the transvestite with a keyboard line, which will now require more backstory for modern audiences. Gather round, children. Back when Lady Gaga first debuted and hit the mainstream around 2008, some people started making jokes that she looked like a man. Some videos claiming to show bulge in her pants went viral at some point, and a lot of people started honestly believing she was either a man or she was born a male and transitioned. And this culminated with the release of Born This Way, after which large amounts of people were convinced that the song was about Lady Gaga herself changing genders. And as something to note about the release timeline, this battle rap came out about a month before that song released. So it really existed during the peak of this whole discussion/conspiracy. Now, for her part, Lady Gaga seemed to, on a certain level, enjoy portraying herself as androgynous, as have many musicians before her, so she didn't really discourage the rumor per se. But still, at the end of the day, it is an ugly bit of internet discourse, and while I don't believe that the people at ERB were trying to be offensive in this way, there is an aspect to Nice Peter playing Lady Gaga that feeds into the homophobia and transphobia that drove that whole rumor, so it is a bit unfortunate to look back upon now. Also of note, back in 2011, calling someone gay or a transvestite was considered inherently funny by a lot of people. That was the joke. And it's not a good joke. To be honest, a lot of elements of this particular rap battle are very of the time in a bad way, and feel like they're here with the goal more of chasing headlines, and it ends up aging the video poorly. All this to say, I'm going to be taking just the standard 1 point off here. Maybe it should be more, but I feel like I've given more history than actual line critique at this point, and I think the bars themselves are just the regular kind of bad.
Your voice sounds like a rooster having sex with a frog. They put a lot of lipstick on you, but you still look like a dog.
Oh, God. This episode's gonna need so many more explanations than the last ones. I was on easy mode before pop culture started coming to the forefront. That's what happens when you chase trends and talk about current events too much. Everything gets instantly dated when you enter a new era. There's a lot to unpack here, and none of it's even funny or good rapping, so just in advance, this is a neutral point situation because it's all kind of just boring filler. But anyway, the Rooster Frog line. Back in the late 2000s and early 2010s, tons of people thought autotune was basically like the devil's voice box. Not literally satanic, but evil in the this is destroying music sort of way. I mean, hell, I remember Kid Me bashed autotune a lot. I don't quite know why in hindsight. I guess the idea was it wasn't real music because it was too obviously fake or something like that. Which there is some truth behind it. I do think modern pop music production could benefit from a bit less pitch manipulation and a bit more of an organic feel. but the way complaints were levied back at the time was just really stupid and ignorant. Let's not pretend there was nuanced discussion about the pros and cons of certain vocal engineering techniques. In hindsight, it was more like people getting mad about Dylan going electric, or about disco sucking hard enough it deserved to burn, or saying rap isn't real music. It was people trying to turn their tastes and preferences into fact by using hyperbole rather than building arguments out of technical knowledge, and the whole thing just got out of control. Now, the other line here, with the lipstick and the dog. Obama, the Barack one, the president, had this weird comment where he said something like, "You can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig." And that was in response to one of Sarah Palin's most famous quotes, which was, "What's the difference between a hockey mom and a pit bull? Lipstick." And I'll be real, I don't understand what anyone meant by any of this. It feels like some bizarro set of disses from the strangest rap beef ever. But what I can say is that if anyone tries to tell you about the simpler times in the good old days, about how politics made more sense and we were more united, tell them they're absolutely wrong, because in 2008, a presidential nominee called his challenger's vice presidential pick a pig, after that person referred to herself as a pit bull, and the crowds responded with thunderous applause. Applause even. Sorry, terrible Lady Gaga joke. So back to the battle. After all that, I think this line in this rap here is supposed to be about that, but I'm just realizing how bungled the whole delivery was, and I know what I said before about it being neutral, but I'm actually taking another point off here. For all the explaining I had to do, and for what a mess this whole rap already is.
Put down that teacup, honey, go put on some pants and...
So she, Lady Gaga, wore like leotards and stuff for most performances and red carpet appearances at the time. So people shamed her sometimes by saying she was too risque and needed pants. And I know this seems ridiculous and like I'm making it up, but you don't realize how fast things, especially fashion, can change.
Stop letting little monsters teach you how to dance.
And then there's her hardcore fans at the time, which were known as her Little Monsters. I don't know if that's a moniker that still applies now, but more importantly, I don't remember her fans teaching her how to dance at any point. I don't know if it's a reference to some other thing, but I'm just blown away by how little sense any of these raps are making right now. Another point bites the dust.
You may be Gaga, but you ain't a lady at all. Let's see those outfits you've been wearing, that takes big balls.
I'm not 100% certain what the clapping was about. I think it's a reference to the drum sound in the Queen song Radio Gaga, which is the song Lady Gaga named herself after. But it's not a clap in that song, it's like a very 80s compressed snare drum sound. And off the top of my head, I don't know any of the Lady Gaga hits from the time that featured a clap like that. But I don't know, I don't fucking know. And then we have another transvestite joke, and just wow, this verse, man, hot garbage.
I think I'd rather elect a Smurf than vote for you. Governor of Alaska? That's like the principal of a home school.
Wow, way to diss both the entire Smurf Republic and all the citizens of Alaska. Fair point though, since Alaska's low population and largely uninhabited wilderness does certainly make the governorship there at least less demanding to a certain extent compared to other states with more infrastructure. Still probably a hard job though, and the state faces a lot of unique issues because of its geography. So I'll give a point for comedy and delivery while acknowledging the flaws here.
You are the sum of everything I despise. We're the most dysfunctional family since the Jackson 5.
There's that classic Nice Peter, throwing in too many syllables just to get the swear in. Also, yay, more references for me to explain. The members of the Jackson 5, who were Michael Jackson and his siblings when they were young, had a famously, we'll call it tumultuous upbringing, largely because of their father who was allegedly a tyrant, to put it lightly. Meanwhile, Sarah Palin's family was kind of a train wreck, complete with them all showing up on a reality show to showcase how dumb they all were, and also resulting in a very strange Family Guy episode about Palin's daughter who had Down syndrome. God, it was a weird time. I kind of get what the diss here is trying to do, and I don't think it's bad enough to lose a point, but it's pretty poorly executed. So we'll just give nothing and call it a day.
Just trust me, your 15 minutes of fame came and went. Go back to your igloo. Spend some time with your kids before they're pregnant.
Let's ignore that the igloo line is kinda dumb and maybe slightly offensive, but I don't know much about the politics of igloos. And also, we can, in the other direction, ignore that Gaga's prediction about Palin's time in the spotlight being over was largely correct, at least from the standpoint of when I'm recording this now. Politics are weird, and it's not unusual for people to become important again way out of the blue. The lines are both boring, and they kind of balance out. The real moment here is the pregnancy one. Palin's daughter, Bristol Palin, got pregnant underage and unmarried, and it was a big deal during the 2008 presidential election because Palin and John McCain ran a platform which heavily touted family and conservative values. And so it was a minor scandal, and people used it as an attack on Palin's character, accusing her of being a hypocrite and a bad mother. Honestly, it was all a mess, and I'm not sure I really agree with anything that went down, but I still think its reference here is a fair play by the character of Lady Gaga in the context of the rap, and I'll give it a point. I'd give it a 3 for the shock value, but looking at the wall of explanation I need for the joke to work, it's pretty impossible to argue the diss isn't a bit dated.
Your frigid little body couldn't even handle what I do. I think the truth is, Sarah, my music just scares you.
This one, luckily, I don't think needs much explanation. But basically, I remember a big defense of Gaga's music and shocking persona at the time was saying that people who hated her were just intimidated and threatened or scared for all the wrong reasons. Honestly, it was a fair argument, and Palin was the exact type of person who would have felt this way about Gaga. So, point awarded here. It's good social commentary.
Your music doesn't scare me. I'm a mother of 5. I killed moose with my bare hands before you were alive.
Okay, I'll give this one to Sarah. And thank God I don't need to explain this at all. I want it known I breezed through the scripts for those first 3 battles and then just hit a wall of burnout having to say so much about this one. But the moose. The moose! It's so simple, it's so self-explanatory. Thank the moose.
Everything you do is just a rerun of Madonna.
This one also fairly simple, but sadly not as good. Basically, back in the day, people who hated Lady Gaga would often dismiss her as a Madonna ripoff. I'll be real, I think it's just because they're both blonde pop stars because they're really extremely different people who created vastly different art.
Your fans are in a frenzy like a bunch of gay piranhas.
Also, while the image of actual gay piranhas is kind of hilarious, it isn't really a great diss. I'll go for neutral on this one.
I sound more intelligent than you when I fart.
That basic 2010 Adobe animation for the fart, oh my god. I'll be real, it's so dumb looking, but I kinda wanna just give a giggle point for saying fart like that, and I think that's what I'm gonna do.
I wonder if you even know how to spell the word art.
Gaga's just calling Palin stupid in more words.
You don't belong in politics, you belong in a hockey game.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is vaguely referencing that aforementioned lipstick diss that had me explaining the hockey mom comment, but looking at history, this feels less like a diss and more just like a factual statement. I kind of feel like Sarah Palin would be happier at a hockey game than in politics.
History will regret you like John McCain.
Oh my. I'm glad they were able to fit Lloyd in there somewhere at least. And look, they even managed to reuse the Bill O'Reilly wig. Kudos. But really, in 2010, this line was biting. What a world where John McCain was so easy to criticize. As far as the line quality though, I'm taking a point off just for how wrong the statement is. I don't think John McCain, of all things and all people, will be regretted by history. Maybe faded and forgotten, but there's a lot more to regret, so this line just feels cheap. As far as the big picture goes, this rap is a step forward as much as the past raps, especially in the showcasing of both Peter's character talents and the ability for the show to allow guest rappers. The guests will become integral to the show going forward as they can expand the rapper possibilities when Lloyd and Peter just won't cut it. Even if a secret part of me needs to see what Epic Lloyd's Palin would sound like. And not even joking, it would probably have been a stronger video if he did play the part. There's big steps backward in the actual quality of the raps here, and again, the theming is weak at best. It's basically a retread of the tenuous left-wing versus right-wing idea from the Lennon O'Reilly episode, with the gimmick this time being it's 2 female celebrities. And I'm sure a lot of the issues come down to growing pains. With the first guest comes a shakeup to production, and I'm sure it added an unseen layer of difficulty to things. I don't know how the writing room worked at the time, but either Lisa Nova was bringing in her own raps with her own style to the table, or Lloyd and Peter were trying to write raps for another person. Either way, that had to have made things just a little more challenging, and I think the performers did their best, even if it turned out kind of bad. No offense to Lisa, and only slight offense to Season 1 Nice Peter. Add to that an extra person whose schedule you need to work around for shooting, and the clear effort to consciously try to reach a large audience by chasing current events, and Episode 4 really comes off as a production brought down by a feeling of maybe newfound pressure that hadn't been there before. It's the first time they're making something with expectations which they know a whole lot of eyes will see, and they're having a bit of trouble meeting them moment. That said, the rap is still serviceable. It wasn't glaringly bad at the time, and I think mostly it looks worse in hindsight, because it's so much more rooted in a certain pop culture moment than the previous episodes. And I don't remember at the time being so critical about it, even if it was never my favorite. But hey, we're past that. A minor hiccup, but now we're off to the epic rap arena. The rappers have been training, and we'll see if our muscly boys can use the first ever ERB tag team to take down Sonic the Hedgehog's mother. Stay tuned for more breaking news. Like, subscribe, and I'll catch you later. Hello, this is the Who Won Kid here, recording through being sick, so I'm sorry about the voice, but thank you so much again for watching this video. It was so long, literally double the previous in length, and you, yes, you out there have watched all the way to the end like a madman, and you're literally the best for it. I'm really happy with the response to the channel so far, and I'm having a blast making these videos. That said, if you'd like to send me a tip, use my Ko-fi link down in the description below. Anything at all helps, and the more I make on here, the more time and attention I'll be able to put on making these YouTube videos. I don't have any bonus content available at the moment, but let me know what type of material you'd be interested in seeing in the future, and I'll see what I can do. And I don't know, I suck at drawing, but if you throw enough money at me, I could be convinced to do some sort of commission piece for you. Anyway, y'all are the best. Looking forward to seeing what happens in the future, and see ya. Catch you next time.